On this episode of AV Week, the pent-up demand for in-person events and how that's going to impact us, the effects of the latest CARES Act on the economics of the industry, and looking at real-time translation and AI. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 502, recorded Friday, April 2nd, 2021. Phygital.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Extron, industry-leading technology backed by world-class support.
And by Daylight, the leading producer of high-quality projection screens worldwide. And by Chief, the global leader in commercial AV mounting solutions.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week, we have an all-star cast. First and foremost, Charmaine Torella from New York City, also our friends over at Barracks. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, and hello.
We will stay in the great Empire State and the Empire City. Dan Friese is also in New York, works for Sound and Communications Magazine. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. And last but not least, a young man that I still keep trying to get on, and has too much fun over there at Herman. Chris Beyonce, welcome, sir.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the young man comment.
No, it's all relative, dude. It is all relative. All right, first story comes to us from actually our website. PSNI Global Alliance was their Super Summit was this week. Full disclosure, I was there. I host the event, MC the event. And it was interesting because Chris and Tommy and Haley Klein, great group of folks over there, they put on a more than 24-hour event. And I'll put it this way, because PSNI has grown globally. They did a section in APAC, and then they time shifted, and then a section in EMEA, and then a section in the Western Hemisphere, basically, right? You've got North America and South America. But that part is really important because one of their vendors, one of their partners, is a company called Williams AV, and Williams has a new product out called Convey Video. This is what it does, and it's translation and it's closed captioning, right? Nothing crazy new there, right? We've been doing that for years. However, it's in real time, and it's in multi languages. So that right there, it is what really got me. And so if you were watching if you were able to see this in action, and you can go, I'm sure you can find a Williams rep, but it's leveraging Google AI and darn near perfect. It's obviously there's some lag time because you got to go up to the cloud, you got to come down, but it is really, really slick. Charmaine, this is using some AI as well as obviously some machine learning, the same algorithms that Google's been messing around with for a number of years, both with their technology for smart speakers and learning, kind of the languages. Where else do we see, Charmaine, AI being leveraged? And what do we think about this kind of real-time translation tool?
Hey, AI is being leveraged with a lot of enterprises nowadays. Now, I worked at another previous integrator that did the United Nations integration, right? Which we had to integrate translation boxes and rooms to translate for those different emissaries that would come for the General Assembly. And it was very costly. A lot of companies now are looking to do something like that and find a more cost-effective way. And when I saw this, I was like, I'm glad that this is here, because now a lot of clients are asking questions. Oh, what about this? You have a lot of enterprise clients with a big global presence, especially in the pharmaceutical world. They're looking to do something like this. That's going to be huge to the financial. So those types of industries that have a huge presence across the world and would like to do this not only for their internal staffers, but also for the supply chain and the people they manage outside. So this is going to have a very heavy, people are going to, and it's using, the engine is Google. Need I say more? Everybody knows that when you go to translate something, most people go to Google Translate anyway, and it's one of the most effective AIs in terms of translation. And this is just a sweet way of utilizing that engine in a cost-effective manner to create this solution. So I see so much promise in this. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of questions after this and as to how we're going to do this for our organization. So.
Yeah. Dan, talk for a second about the number of organizations that are trying to expand globally. You know, obviously, PSNI has done that. You have the Global Alliance that are doing GPA that is expanding globally. And then you have companies like AVIXPL and HB Communications and some others that are also expanding globally. And they're following their clients, right? Certainly, and supporting their clients. But they're also, once they get to the country that they're not originally from, they're finding other clients as well. Talk for a second about something that Charmaine that said there about being able to utilize this for translation and to support customers and clients that in countries that maybe you're not a native speaker.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely applicable to that kind of situation. And you, much like me, probably are inundated with emails talking about organizations expanding outward, as you say, striking up strategic partnerships with distributors or manufacturing, et cetera, expanding their global footprint. And I think this is certainly ACEs for that. And I was looking in particular at the coverage you did, 27 languages, 70 plus dialects, 94% accuracy. These are really eye-popping numbers. And whether you are an integrator who is looking to expand, as you say, into countries with non-English speakers where you need to be able to communicate in virtual real time without a whole lot of lag, without a delay, without having to hire a human translator to do it in real time, which obviously is much more expensive. I think this it's tremendously useful.
Yeah. Chris, Herman has been part of ADI for about 6-9 months now.
Actually 13 months.
13 months. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, dude. 2020 was anyhow.
Yeah, it's gone.
It was so long ago. 13 months. Good Lord. You guys are a multinational corporation as well. Talk for a second, both internally, but also ways that you can help your clients, put this into their client systems.
So, it's so this is the first time I've actually heard about this particular product, and I'm like just blown away by the capabilities because, the AV industry hasn't really stepped into the world of AI just yet, so this to me might be something that starts, much more of a bigger trend, so to speak, which is going to be interesting. For our own company, it'll be pretty interesting because again, we operate in 19 different countries. And I've been on numerous calls where, fortunately, it seems everybody's learned English in our organization, or at least the ones that at least take the phone calls. But I'm sure, as we continue to expand and grow, ADI, obviously their global focus has been around the security, world. But now with, acquiring us and wanting to push on the AV side of the business, we will see in the future, some growth as far as international play as well. So, it's going to be an interesting ride the next few years, watching what AI and how it transforms the AV industry.
Well, and there's a larger conversation there, and I've referred to myself as a big dumb American for a number of years because that's just kind of how I feel. I understand what I don't know, right? And as I've gotten to been blessed to connect with other members of the AV industry from around the world, it is remarkable how many different languages folks who are not in the U.S. Do indeed speak. And thankfully, they landed on English because otherwise, those of us who do travel the world would have to learn other languages. Now, I'm in the middle of Spanish, but I'm also knock on wood. I'm starting Mandarin Chinese. And I started basically, I bought the Rosetta Stone, subscription for it. And I've gone through 2 lessons. But yeah, I mean, we are very blessed and thankful here in the U.S., but that people did happen to learn and land on English. So, all right. Next story actually comes to us from Sound of Communications. Dan, you guys did a webinar with a number of folks, including Shure, Peter Hansen from Avixa, we've interviewed a number of times, and also Venable. And you looked at how this latest COVID act is going to impact the commercial side of the AV industry. Talk for a second about the 1 or 2 things that you guys pulled from that, and not just from a vertical standpoint, but also from a macroeconomic standpoint.
Yeah, we thought it was really important to explore because a lot of us are familiar with, things like the $1,400 survival checks, how it affects us individually, but that's really just a very small piece of the overall puzzle. And when you look at the broad scope of the $1.9 trillion package, it's going to have big effects on the macroeconomy and on commercial AV in particular. We're talking about $350 billion in state and local aid, many of which is going to go to hard-hit industries like tourism, hospitality. Talking about the elementary and secondary school emergency relief fund, got almost $125 billion. Higher education relief fund, $40 billion. And of course, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, more commonly known as Save Our Stages, got an infusion of $1.25 billion. So these are funds that are going to be going to whether they're venue operators who haven't been able to have live events in 12, 13 months, schools that are trying to build out their remote learning and hybrid learning capabilities. I mean, obviously, a lot of these funds are going to go toward things like ventilation systems for schools and financial aid grants for students and things like that. But money will be filtering down to verticals that are of critical importance to the commercial AV industry. And again, I mentioned some of them: hospitality, education, live events. And we also tried in the course of the webinar to clarify that PPP has been extended. I think it's now extended through May, if I have my dates correct. And if you're a venue operator or a venue stakeholder and you're applying for that SVOG money, you also can apply for PPP. That's something that was additionally enacted as part of this legislation. So there are a lot of different avenues in which, whether you're an integrator, whether you're a venue operator, whatever the case might be, where you can give yourself the leg up until we get through this.
Well, the other thing I want to point out here is also there was a provision in there, and maybe it's part of one of these that you pointed out. $170 billion, by the way, is what he just added up there for you. There's a provision in there for restaurants to provide relief for them. And what's important about that is nothing against my chains, right? And don't hate on me if this is not a statement about chain restaurants, but it is specifically designed for locally owned establishments. You have to have less than 10 locations for this to apply to you. And it is a relief for lost revenue year over year. So what you made in 2019 and what you didn't make in 2020, you can use that to kind of shore up, and that hopefully will allow a lot of these venues to come back and provide and do some renovations. Like Dan said, a lot of it's going to be, HVAC and health and safety, but a lot of it will also be other things as well that you guys and gals can certainly hone in on. Chris, from your perspective, when you're talking with your clients, what does this look like to them, and are they aware of a lot of these things?
Yeah, I don't know if everybody's all aware of everything. When you put out a document that's 1,600 pages of government Ds, I don't think a lot of people pay attention to all the details of that. What's been interesting as a side note of all these dollars that are going to go directly into different industries, the fact that the money that they're spending to accelerate getting people vaccinated right now, I think is one of the most critical parts of all this. From my customers' standpoint, they're waiting for their customers to get back into their offices and into their buildings. It is greatly slowed down, obviously, the commercial business for installation work, and being an installation arm for a lot of these companies. We definitely have felt it over the past year. What we're hoping, though, is this is going to accelerate, get people back in. In the past month, we've seen like our service work has gone almost back to pre-COVID levels. Wow. Which is telling me that people are starting to want to get their offices spruced back up and get people back in, which was interesting because we'd gotten we generally probably do 100 to 120 calls per month. I can tell you probably last July we did like 6. It had really just, our service work had just dropped off, but they're not in their buildings, so we need to get people back in their offices. And then I think there's going to be I think the next couple of years, you're going to see a lot of people maybe not have a need for more space, but how to make their spaces much more efficient and redesigning the type of space. I've been kind of telling my folks and talking with some customers, the day of the presentation room is probably going away. People will less refer to them as conference rooms and more as collaboration rooms, because I think you're going to find a lot more people, they've moved out of the cities. They may not want to come into the office. And, I think we've kind of proven now everybody doesn't have to be sitting in the office anymore. With this technology of Zoom and Teams and everything, it's transformed our business. I mean, it was interesting. We were pre-COVID, we were looking at a new facility, more space, this, that, and the other thing. Now I can get about 50% of my workforce, working at home, from an office standpoint, and not have to expand. But we are looking at better ways of using the space that we have. So
real quickly, have you guys seen any movement? There's a couple stories that came out. One was this week, one was last week. Both Google and Microsoft are actually accelerating their back to work. And they're adjusting kind of what they're looking at as hybrid. And Mitchell, I'll get you the link to one of the stories here, so you can put it on the episode site. But it was Microsoft and Google specifically, and they're looking at May, as opposed to like Facebook and Twitter, which are still holding to the July. Does that move anything for you guys or any of your clients, Chris?
Yeah, well, it would be wonderful. It's interesting right now. We actually have been hired. We have 2 clients that have us going into their customers, doing evaluations of all the systems, to see where they're at, because they haven't used them in a year. Are the systems still functional? Do they need to make upgrades? Things of that nature. So they're trying to take stock of what they've got and look at upgrades. So could use a few more of those, but it is interesting. But I think that's right now going to be crucial. Obviously the jobs report came out yesterday, which was good to see, unemployment going down a little bit. So things are coming back, and hopefully they come back quick.
All right. Charmaine, from your standpoint, actually, Chris just gave everybody here that's an integrator an idea for a new business line, and that's post-COVID preventive maintenance, basically.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir, from all of us. But call Chris first before you do that.
Right. Thank you.
Charmaine, your clients, right? You work a lot in IT and in tech. What are they seeing coming out of this latest relief package?
Well, what they're seeing is the reshuffling of the workforce. Interesting about what you read is what happened also this week was Forrester, hosted by Bluescape, right? They did an event talking about the future of meetings and hybrid work and the research that they've done into that and what they're seeing from the many clients that they manage. So they came up with this new word, which I thought was interesting: Phygital. Physical plus digital, Phygital, PHY digital, Phygital. So the thing is, they did a poll where they polled a lot of, enterprise workers, just workers in general in businesses. And a lot of them want to come back to the office. It's not whether they have to or not. There's a desire for them to come back to the office. So the organizations that I'm working with, they understand that desire, and they're reshuffling the workforce in a way to make it possible for them to have a choice, an option, not to stay away for forever. Most people are not looking to do that because most people honestly want to run away from home. They don't want to be locked in their houses anymore. And they definitely want the kids to go back to the school so they don't have to do multiple things at the same time as work. So the reshuffling of the workplace is what a lot of clients are doing. So I'm working with clients now that are reimagining the size of the conference room or adding a couple of more. I'm also on the service side dealing with a lot of clients that are wanting to not touch as many things, that want to use managed services and AI as a way to just turn things on, start a meeting, adjust, add this, do this. So there's a reshuffling and a recalibration that's happening amongst clients now. And now what's happening is I'm starting to see a bottleneck of requests, which in working with someone like Herman will eventually filter down to Herman. And I'm looking out for you, Chris. It's coming.
Okay.
It's going to filter out to Herman and help us, get the hands that a lot of AV companies don't have. So what's important also is a lot of clients are looking for those extra hands, staffing. So I'm finding myself in situations where I'm providing temporary or, part-time staffers to help them with the AV management of the technology, because for some reason, either they had to let go their shared services team or they had to minimize their workforce. Now they're looking to the AV world to really supplement what they're lacking and help get everything ready for when everyone starts going back in.
All right, that actually leads right nicely into our last story. from our friends over at AV Magazine. Here is the story is there's a European-wide research that was done on post-COVID activities. The interesting part to me is that it was commissioned by Epson, the projector folks, and they make other stuff too. But here in the AV industry, we think of them mostly as projectors and projected mapping. You actually have some really, really innovative technology for light and visual art. The study, though, revealed that 83% of people are planning to go back to the same or greater number of events once lockdown restrictions are lifted. This is from the one of the professors that helped with the study, Professor Taylor. It's clear that the overwhelming, quote unquote, it's clear that the overwhelming majority are eager to resume their pre-pandemic social lives, including attending live experiential events. Chris, God love him for doing this. I'm with the majority there. What does this mean, though, for the industry? What does this mean? Is this? Charmaine just said, there's a bottleneck. I keep hearing from dealers and from other folks that there is this pent up demand, and not yet, but there is a demand here that certainly feels palpable towards the second half of this year. What does this mean, though, as folks do start getting vaccinated? This pandemic does start getting under control. What does this mean for the industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because most of the largest players in the AV industry, have told us they have record backlog that they've ever had, jobs they've been sitting on for months and months and months. And as with all clients, the minute things are ready to get back to normal, they're all going to want it all at once.
Absolutely.
And there's a tremendous amount of optimism. Unlike when we came out of 2008, 2009, we had a huge economic downturn. Things came back, but they came back over 2010, 11, 12, it was pretty gradual. It's almost a little scary because I think you're going to run into a few issues around not only labor supplies being, much tighter than they've been in the past, but also just getting equipment. We're right now seeing, especially being a distributor as well. We've got a lot of manufacturers that are just backlogged right now on equipment, and here it is. This is month end for us, and we're like, how much are we pushing out the door? And we're going. There's a lot of orders that are just not going to make it right now because of inventory levels being as low as they are. So it is going to be an interesting second half of the year. I'm anxiously awaiting it, but I think we're going to have a lot of end users are going to have to wait because there's one limited resource in our industry, and that's people who know what the heck they're doing with AV, and even some of those aren't very good at it. So we have to. Yeah. Not anybody I know, but
Chris Bianchi.
Oh, come on. We all know. It's just nobody wants to say it out loud.
And we know who those are too. That's the ones we don't call. So.
Right. So it's there's a lot coming here, and I think it's going to be very welcome, but it is going to create a whole set of other, issues in our industry. There's no question.
All right, really quickly, Charmaine, before I get to you, one thing that Chris mentioned there, I don't want it to go to just kind of fly by. There is an inventory issue right now, and it's being exacerbated by two things. There is a chip shortage, which you may or may not have read. It's impacting everybody from cars to electronics, right? And then yes, cars are electronics too, but it's impacting everybody, right? The second thing is there's a backlog at the ports. I don't care what country you're living in right now. There's a backlog at your port. Talking with a manufacturer this morning, and they've got a new product coming down the pipeline. And I simply asked them, because this is what we do, is, okay, this is cool, groovy, what's the list price? Okay, when do you expect to see it? Quote unquote, we should see it the first part or second part of May, but it's on the water now. So we really don't know. Meaning it's on a boat somewhere between here and there. And once it gets to port, it's got to get off that boat. So there are end users, have patience with your fantastic integrators and with their manufacturers, because there's a lot of stuff that is coming from outside the country that is on a boat right now waiting to get offloaded. Charmaine, same kind of question here. What is this seemingly pent up demand to get back and have experiences mean for our industry?
Well, it means for our industry that we're also going to have to look at those non-chip items, right? Items like, we resellers are waiting for that slow boat from China to whatever port to come and bring us our equipment, right? But the client isn't. So the clients are like, okay, Teams, Zoom, this, that, they're going, that's where it's going, right? And on the AV side, we have to go right along with it. So, being able to work with those solutions and also provide them. I mean, AV works with them great, no problem, all the time. But now AV is not used to just being the sole provider of them, right? Usually it's, the client gets it through Microsoft and whatever. And for the big enterprise clients who directly work with those types of manufacturers and providers, no problem. But there's also the small and mid-market people who don't necessarily have that luxury, right? So they need someone that can do that for them. There are IT people that resell Microsoft, Zoom, whatever, but AV can do it as well. And until that boat comes in, AV can start getting into that and immerse itself more into that world, which is also, there are other solutions coming right behind it that they're going to have to start, getting used to, because other manufacturers are jumping on that ship as well. So that's where the AV world has to start embracing. Also network cloud. They have to start embracing that more. It's been hard for AV to start embracing that. Network is going to be a big part of that. It's now time to hug network and make them your mistress, because clients are going to be looking for that knowledge on our side. Again, if their other integrator doesn't necessarily have that knowledge, and on some respects, their normal integrators, IT, don't always. So AV can also come into that and embrace that and make it one more less point of access, right?
Yeah.
Handle most of what you need. So it's time to make network your mistress.
Absolutely. It's a bit past that time, just for the record, but it's a different conversation. Dan, last word on this. What does this pent up demand mean for the industry?
I mean, I think it augurs very well for us, and I think a lot of it has to do with how AVIXA has positioned us over the last 3 or 4 years as experience creators, that we're not just integrators anymore. We're memory makers, we're smile generators, we're storytellers. We are the creator of memorable experiences. And if that's what people are demanding, if that's what people are saying, we're depressed, we're sad, we haven't gotten out of the house, what we want is in-person experiences. If we're now positioned as an industry as experience facilitators and memory makers, and we know how to create indelible impressions that you want to tell your kids about and your kids are going to want to tell their friends about, that we're positioned in that way, I think is certainly beneficial to us. And I agree with the thesis of the piece, which is that I think people are going to go back to life pretty much as it was once this pandemic passes. I don't think this is going to be something that's going to change the trajectory of human society. I think when people realize the vaccines work, that they're durable, that they give durable immunity that's going to protect you for 6 months, a year, maybe more than that, people are going to realize, yes, let's go to a theme park, let's go to a concert, let's go to a stand-up comedy show. And they're going to embrace living life. And AV integrators are now, I think, positioned as facilitators of giving you the experiences you want when you're living life outside the house. I think it's an enviable place to be.
I like the memory maker part of that. Absolutely, that's really, really cool. All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you all. Charmaine Torella from Barracks, welcome, ma'am. No, thank you, ma'am. Welcome. It's been a long week. How do people connect with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn by spelling out my name, Charmaine Torella. I work for Varix, and also on Twitter, if you spell out my name as well.
All right, very good. Mr. Farisi, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you or Sound and Communications?
Sure, you can go to soundandcommunications.com, or you can find us on Twitter at the handle Sound and Com. We've been much more active on Twitter lately, so interact with us. We'll interact with you and be much more social than we have been.
You have been incredibly more social. I have noticed that, and just enough snarky to fit in with Twitter. I just want to point that out. So good for you guys. And Mr. Bianchi, thank you, sir.
Oh, my pleasure. Find me on LinkedIn or at herman-is.com.
All right, very good. For us, for AVNation, go by our website. Don't follow me on the Twitters. This is my annual statement of I don't like baseball, even though I live in St. Louis. I really don't. And it's the Cardinals, and I know, and I get it. And my wife yells at me and all that jazz, blah, blah, blah. I do my husbandly duty, and I take her to a couple baseball games a year. I just do not care for baseball. So don't follow me on the Twitters and expect, yay, Cardinals. I do root for them. But the Blues are still playing, just for the record. Hockey is still in season, which is what makes this time of year kind of difficult for me. As you fight over what you're watching on any given Friday night. So my marital problems are not your problems. So, but go by our website if you would please, avnation.tv, avnation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others. A couple things we've got going on. Yes, I understand that Infocom is a little bit out of the way right now. It's in October. I get that. However, one of the cool things about the kind of the moves that we've made here recently, I told you folks that getting acquired by CTI is really going to help us do some things that we had not done in the past. This is one of those things. We are giving away 5 scholarships to end users for Infocom. So Mitchell is going to put a fancy schmancy link on this episode's page. If you go there and you click on it, tell me why you need to go to Infocom 2021, and I will pick up the tab for 5 of you. So not all of you. There's a couple of you that I don't want to pick up the tab to. No, there's it's a contest. It's a scholarship. Give me your best, reason why it will impact you or your organization or your life. And even if it's just you get to meet Charmaine Torella in person, because that's a fine answer right there. That might get you on your way to Orlando. So yeah, go by there and go by and check out our other shows, State of Control with my buddy Steve Greenblatt, AVWeek with Matt Scott, and more. So all that and more at AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.